These last few dispatch episodes have just been absolute cinema, bro. Episode 3 and 4 were more so Invisigal and Blonde Blazer coded episodes, which I will be deep diving into that whole debate after the game finishes, so I figured in the meantime I'll be talking about the recent episodes, aka 5 and 6, whereas with my last video I only talked about 1 and 2. So for those who think that I may be skipping around these episodes, don't worry, we will talk about these episodes soon enough. However, I want to talk about these two recent episodes, as not only does it have the best cliffhanger so far out of any episode, but it definitely is just the best stretch of the series by far. Episode 5 focused on the team pretty much accepting Robert on the team and determining whether or not if this team is just going to be simply getting by or be made for actual greatness. Not only do we get every member having time to shine, but in this episode in particular made Golem to me a top 5 GOAT in this game. Personally, I love the scene outside of the bar when we offer Golem 2 drinks and him clutching up near the end and saving us against Flambae. Oh my gosh! And on top of him just easily having some of the best dialogue when we do the dispatching. This guy is just my GOAT. This guy is awesome, okay? If he dies, I'm gonna be very sad. Prism would be out here performing and having some of the funniest lines while blinding people permanently. I got to see Malovela and Sonar having their dynamic and synergy showing off, while of course still setting things up for Robert and Invisigal. Now, I know depending on your choices, obviously this entire relationship can be different, but from my personal experience and my gameplay, Robert and Invisigal are romantically interested in one another. Now we get to see this crazy Bart fight sequence, which is by far my favorite fight sequence in the entire game, and I also really enjoyed the flashbacks between Mecha Man and Flambae as well. And of course, the one thing I have to mention for a highlight of this episode is of course Flambae singing.
I have no hopes, I have no dreams, and a tiny little thing, and it doesn't even function anyway.
Now, the one hero to me I feel that was very lacking throughout the game was Punch Up, and now that might be my fault due to me removing Coop super early on, so Punch Up never really wanted anything to do with me. But I mean, instead of accidentally punching Robert in the nuts and having funny lines here and there, he just doesn't really add anything to the table. But he's voiced by Jacksepticeye, so of course he's automatically a GOAT in my opinion. Now, after this beatdown, we find out actually off screen that Phenoma Man actually clutched up and joined in on the fight and helping us, and also bought the whole team food. And this is where the group asks Robert who he really is. And I'm sorry, if y'all did not choose to say the truth and you just said, "I'm Robert," you are weird. I'm sorry. Because by this point in the story, we have bonded with our team and are building even dynamics with each and every individual. From the funny scene with Malovela and Prism trying to press Robert who he is, to obviously Flambae and Robert's back and forth. Sonar/Coop specifically saying thank you or feeling like they owe a debt to you after you save them. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, we just got some really cool scenes with Golem. And so it just makes zero sense to me why you wouldn't tell the team the truth. And of course, this is where Flambae would then get heated. Get it? Because Flambae... anyway. Okay, seriously, Flambae tries to literally burn Robert to a crisp after hearing this fact, but that's when Golem steps in the way and a soda is thrown at him by Invisigal. Now, I heard if you actually pick Waterboy instead of Phenoma Man, Waterboy's the one to turn off Flambae's fires, which, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty sick, but I'm never picking Waterboy because that guy's a freak. Anyway, this leads into episode 6, where we have our group talking about finding an astral pulse and ending up having a house party. Oh yeah, side note by the way, in between these two episodes, I forgot which episode it was in specific, but we get a scene of us contemplating on killing Shroud, or Chase asking us if we should, as that's what's going to define Robert as a hero. Anywho, this leads into Chase drinking a little too much, and after he tries to say one thing to Invisigal, and Invisigal saying that Chase is useless and not a hero, this would lead into him calling her a coward and anything but a hero pretty much. Chase himself in this scene took it too far and may have been under the alcoholic influence, but sometimes drunk words are in fact sober thoughts, and it's not like Chase was lying about how he felt towards Invisigal in this scene. And this is in fact the case, as he only acknowledged the possibility of her being good or being a hero once Robert said something. And as we've seen throughout the series, of course, Chase is someone who looks out for Robert and understands what it means to be a hero, like not only Robert but also the previous Mecha Man. So when he sacrificed himself for Invisigal, it wasn't her fault and, oh my god, if she never went after the astral pulse, none of this would have happened. No, Chase didn't die for Invisigal. He died for himself, and he also died for Robert. Not only did Robert's real superpower affect Chase, that being the ability to change perspective, but I mean, Chase throughout the entire game has done nothing but complaining about being able to only do this and not being able to do more. And so, in Chase's last act of being a hero, Trackstar would come out of retirement for one last time, And we would see him pretty much running across the entire city and grabbing Invisigal and the astral pulse before Shroud could kill them. And the fact as well that we even see him running around the world one last time as he knows this will be his final moment, like, yo, bro, this shit makes a grown man wanna cry! Now, with episode 5 and 6's conclusions established, we need to see where we honestly go from here. Episode 7 and 8, unfortunately, are the last 2 episodes we're gonna get for at least this season of the game. Meaning, episode 7 will probably just focus on Mecha Man fixing his suit and the romance of whoever you choose and prepping the team, of course, and then ultimately having to choose whether or not to kill Shroud. And episode 8 is pretty much just going to be the culmination of that decision on top of just a big final fight with Mecha Man and Shroud, and we'll probably have some room for either a very, very sad ending where Robert sacrifices himself or a very, very happy ending that could lead into a second game. There is the possibility that Invisigal, of course, did work with Shroud, and maybe she even put the bomb on the original Mecha Man suit. However, I can see Robert very easily forgiving Courtney, especially given with what's been going on currently. And if they were to go down this route, then obviously Courtney would just immediately spill the beans in episode 7 as Chase just died because of her. She's definitely going to feel like it's his fault. And of course, we still have the possibility of Mandy being related to Shroud himself. These two definitely do look a little similar in design, and of course the eye color says it all. However, once again, these two theories are just nothing more than that. So all I can really say is, hey, these are really cool plot ideas and concepts, I just don't really know how you're going to execute it in a game with only 2 episodes left, and the next episode more than likely just being a filler episode setting up episode 8. After seeing what's happened with Chase, we're probably going to see a depressed Mecha Man, and while Royd fixes the suit up, we'll probably have the gang, or depending on your choices, Courtney or Mandy, coming up to help you to get your head back in the game. And that's the idea of the person you potentially cut out working for Shroud. So let's say in the final episode, depending on your choices, you either have to fight a bloodlusted transformed Sonar or a bloodlusted Coop. And maybe depending on the decision as well, you have someone like, let's say, Punch Up backing you up against Coop because those two have a dynamic. While maybe if you're fighting Sonar, Malovela comes in and tries to reason with him. There's just so much to honestly break down in these last 2 episodes, and in my opinion, it's not going to work unless you just give us 2+ hour content on both episodes, please! Anywho, I'm loving Dispatch right now, and to me, this is the best thing out, so if you haven't played it already, well, I don't know why you clicked on this video, because I just literally spoiled everything before the finale, but yeah, I mean, I hope you enjoyed at least.